Hi, my name is Jessica, whatever. I am here to tell you my breast cancer story. I found it myself. It was actually, I didn't feel a lump. I have small boobs. Um, I never, I never did an exam. I was 37 at this time, fairly young, and I didn't. I have dense breast tissue, which I didn't know then. That makes it harder also to notice stuff. Um, there was a dimple, so it was like on the side here, like under my armpit, but a little further down, like 6 inches below my arm. Yeah, 6 inches below my armpit, next to my boob. Um, it was like a dimple of so like something was pulling the skin in, and it just looked strange. I had had a hysterectomy 5 months prior, so I was in contact with my OB and had regular appointments and, like checkups, regular checkups, yearly checkups with a regular doctor. And, I see the doctors. So it was just kind of weird, like, that looks strange. Maybe I should get it checked out. And at that time, I didn't even feel like I wasn't even feeling for lumps or anything because I had never heard of that before. Which is kind of why I want to tell my story, because if someone else has this issue, I had never heard of that before and I had no clue. So, uh, so I went to the OB. He did an ultrasound, and he saw and felt a lump. He did. It was smaller, and then of course after he did, then I did, right? Because then you're feeling around, and then it freaks you out a little bit, or a lot of it, and then he said that it didn't look fluid filled, which then did not raise more concern because then it was more like a cyst or fatty tissue or, not typically cancer looking. So he was not concerned, yet he still sent me to get a mammogram, which I went like because scary, like, ugh. Been scheduled for 2 weeks out. In the meantime, we went on a ski trip to Michigan, to the UP. I didn't even think about it. Like it wasn't even, I don't even know if I mentioned it to my friend. Like, like it just wasn't, maybe I did, but it wasn't a big deal. The doctor didn't make it seem like a big deal. So then I did that. I did the mammogram, and the same appointment was an ultrasound, to where the ultrasound tech did it first, and she was like in my armpit and really looking like for it felt like a long time. And then the actual radiologist came in and she did the same thing, and she was in my armpit for forever. That was my first clue, like, something might be wrong. Like they clearly see something that they can't quite see, or they need to, it just felt off, and just the energy in the room was weird. And then I started to kind of freak out. So they didn't get they had to review the stuff, and, no results that day. So then the next day, I think my chart updated, and in the report, which I am not medically trained, so I do not know what any of it means, but it came up as BIRADS category 5. So I Googled that, which came back as it's cancer. So that was a fun way to find out through reading my chart. I think they called me later that day, or I called them, or they probably called me, but I said, yeah, you do have cancer. In order to see how bad, or, see the level of it, then we have to do a biopsy. I got myself all worked up for that to be a terrible experience, which made it a terrible experience. But the actual biopsy wasn't as bad as I made it seem. It still wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad. So we did that, and it came back as stage 2 breast cancer, a ductal of some sort. It wasn't invasive ductal, but there was 2 lumps. So I think that they came back as different strains, which I thought, it was a lot of information, but I thought that was strange.
I just wanted to say that I just read my medical charts and I was wrong. I actually had invasive ductal carcinoma. Let's see. Both of them were invasive ductal carcinoma. I did have 2 lumps. One was bigger than the other. Invasive ductal carcinoma with lobular features. That's what I was thinking. But they both were invasive ductal carcinoma.
Then I saw my oncologist, throw in more information. They wanted me to start, or I had to get some more testing done actually, to see if I was high risk for a reoccurrence, or not, like based on the cells that they got from the biopsy. So I had to do that. I did the BRCA test to see if I had that gene. I did a bunch of stuff. So there was a little bit of waiting there. It was a couple of weeks to find that out. And the one that was the most important was to see if I was high risk, because if I was low risk, then there was a chance that I could do just surgery and radiation. But if I was high risk, then I had to do chemo, surgery, and radiation. So when that came back, it came back high risk. So she then wanted to try to schedule me just for the next week to start chemo, which was really fast and too much information. And I was going, I don't know, it was too much information. It was definitely information overload. And she wasn't my favorite just from the start. So I decided to get a second opinion, which that second opinion agreed with the first doctor. So then I went ahead and started treatment. And it was the next week that I did it. I had 4 rounds of chemo, 1 round every 3 weeks. And then I did surgery. The results came back 2 weeks later, as they did not get it all. So then I had to go back in for surgery. And those results also took a few weeks, which was that, the first wait was awful, but the second wait was worse, because if the second one came back as them not getting it all, then I had to go in and get a double mastectomy. And I did not want that, because that's healing from that and all of that is a lot more than having to not go back in for surgery. So once that came back, it came back as they got it all. They just called. And I'm crying with joy because I'm clear. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, that just would have been so horrible. I mean, I would have made it through, but I don't know if I've ever cried for being so happy, ever in my life. So I did not have to have a third surgery. I then started scheduling for my radiation, which I did 30 rounds of radiation. So it was Monday through Friday for 6 weeks. That was a good time. That was a lot. Driving, my doctor's office was a half hour away. So every day I drove to the hospital. I mean, you do what you gotta do. And yeah, and then technically I think after you have surgery to remove it, right? Like you remove the mass, you remove the actual lump, you're considered cancer-free. So that I didn't even know until I think after radiation. So at that point I was still considering myself having head cancer. Doesn't matter, like minor technicality, right? But now that I know that, I've been cancer-free since I think it was August, the end of August in 2022, which is exciting. So 2 years, a little over 2 years. My hair, I lost all my hair. was a lot. It is a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you do and take for the drugs, for chemo, for not so much for radiation. It's just you go in for radiation. There's a lot. I've done 3 mammograms total. I did a PET scan. I did a bone density scan. I did the biopsy, and then I did the radiation. And then all of the chemo, it was just through my arm because there was only 4 treatments. So they said no to a port, which was good because that would have been more surgery. So it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. You get through it though. They were very good. Even though I didn't like my doctor, she just, I don't know, didn't have good bedside manner, I guess. She wasn't my favorite. I remember the first time when, I think it was when I scheduled my appointment to come in to talk about starting no, it was when when I got my results back to say if I was high risk or low risk. I was in the waiting room, or I was in her little office, or the patient room, or what, the room, and she came in, and the first thing she said was, "Oh, looks like you're high risk, so that means you're going to start chemo soon, but don't worry, most insurance companies cover wigs." And I thought that was just outrageous. Like, she gave me no time to process that I was high risk and that I had to start chemo soon, which was scary. It just was. And then she just moved right along to, "Oh, don't worry, you're gonna lose your hair, but insurance covers wigs." Like, it was just so, it was wrong. I didn't like it. It felt really impersonal, and like I was just another number to her, like getting more treatment, which I was. I have since switched. I went through the whole treatment with her, but I've since switched. So now I have a different one that's actually closer, and he's different because I'm not going through treatment anymore. So I just ongoing stuff for the next couple of years, but he seems much better. So that's good. But I would suggest, if you don't like your doctor, get a new one for sure. Another thing is that I loved that I did was I wrote in my journal after everything, right? After all the chemos, how I felt, what I was thinking, like what else was happening in my world, after surgeries, after all medical stuff. It was kind of like my medical journal. Best thing I ever did. I can go back if I want to go read it. When I did read it the first time, I mean, it brought me right back to that moment, as much as you want to go back to that moment, but I don't remember any of it because everything is such a blur. So it was good. It was nice. There was nice moments in there that I forgot about. There was scary moments in there, so it was nice. I would suggest it. So yeah, so that is my breast cancer story. I am going to continue talking about things that I do now after breast cancer, like how I eat, things I do to move, things I use, things I don't use, hair products, makeup, all that kind of stuff, things that I've found that I like, that work, that don't work, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.